All right, guys, the long, dark, cold lulls winter is finally coming to an end. Brian and I back in the saddle today. We'll catch up on all things happening in the gambling, DFS worlds, best ball recaps, all of that good stuff today on Lulls. Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS gods pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us.
All right, Brian, it has been a while since I've heard that intro music. I mean, what did it end up being? Did it end up being like 5 or 6 weeks?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, one of those weeks I couldn't do it on the comeback, and then last week no content. So
yeah,
sitting 5 or 6.
It is what it is, but you know, what do they say? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. We just wanted our audience to really want this back.
That's true. I'm glad to be back. Good to see you, pal. Good you're doing well. Happy you're doing well.
Yeah. How was your holidays?
Good. Yeah, it's about like 50 degrees out right now.
Yeah.
So that's pretty strange, but can't complain about that.
Some people, sometimes like on shows, I'll be like reluctant to do small talk at the top, but I'm actually catching up with you and not knowing what you've been up to for the past 6 weeks. So I'm allowing it.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping to get some ice fishing in. You know how I'm such a big fisherman, Pete.
Yeah.
Skilled. Didn't catch one the entire summer, but
really?
Yeah. I don't remember catching one fucking fish.
Do you think you need some new handwear? Maybe
fish
to
gloves?
kind of help. Yeah.
Yeah. No, see, I did that. Just some bad luck fish gloves, got rid of those. So I figured I'd have better time on the ice, but can't go out when it's 50 degrees, Pete. You might fall in.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you've heard from all of these, lifestyle influencers, biohacks, all of this stuff, these cold plunges. It's GTO, Brian. I'm picturing you out there ice fishing, but actually just submerged in the water while you fish. So you get all of those benefits from the cold plunge as well.
Then get back in the hot tub, do one of those hot to cold therapy sessions.
Yeah, you do have the hot tub, so you can totally pull this off.
Yeah. Well, what I want to do is have my brother set up, because you got to set up a whole ice house.
Yeah.
And drill in, and I'll be in the hot tub watching him, do all the hard work, and then I'll be nice and warm to go out there and do a fish for a couple hours, and then let him take it down.
Are you familiar with I'm sure you are, the Liver King guy?
Yeah.
I feel like you could do such like a good spoof of the Liver King. Like I'm just imagining you out on the lake and you're ice fishing, hopping in your hot tub, drinking beers, and trying to sell people on this new radical lifestyle.
I'm gonna have to juice it up quite a bit, to match the Liver King. You saw he got busted, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah. The biggest shocker, Liver King, might not have been telling things exactly how it was.
Yeah, that'd be like finding out I'm actually suck at fishing. It's like everyone knows.
Did you watch the Glass Onion, the Knives Out sequel on Netflix?
Just some reviews. Reviews. Yeah. I
think the one guy's kind of like supposed to be loosely based off of Joe Rogan, but he also has some like Liver King-esque vibes. There's a character in there that you will enjoy. He has like a big following on Twitch is his thing.
Okay. Because I know Ed Norton's supposed to be like Elon Musk, right?
Yeah, that's I think what they're mapping him
on.
I
won't watch any movie directed by Rian Johnson, so I'm never going to watch that. So
is that actually a thing? You're anti Rian Johnson?
Yeah, I fucking hate that guy.
What did he do?
Oh, he slept with my girlfriend. No. He Star Wars. He fucking ruined Star Wars.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, and this is me being a film snob, but his movie Bric is like one of the coolest movies I've ever seen. Have you seen that movie?
No, I haven't.
This was before he ruined Star Wars too, so you might be able to compartmentalize it as well.
I know, but it's a principle thing. Maybe I will. Some people get lucky sometimes, so maybe he got lucky and it made a good movie. But
yeah, no, I highly recommend watching Bric. Which Bric 75. Come on, you have to do it. You go. What else have you been up to these past 6 weeks? Did you finish the season blasting hard on DraftKings. Did I see someone say that you won a college GPP?
Oh yeah, yeah. Won the last college one. Yeah. I mean, NFL not a great season at all. I took fourth in the millie like 2 weeks ago, but like, you can't take first, man.
Did you have a sweat, like a legit sweat, or was it?
I wasn't watching, but I think I assume I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like a sweat is. It depends on your perspective. Like if you're, like,
Were you live for first? I guess was my question.
Yeah, you always are. So like, it does, like, if one thing go like, I understand like a sweat is like, okay, there's 15 minutes left in the last game. What players matter here? That's the sweat. But really, it doesn't matter. If someone got a touchdown earlier who shouldn't have, or if someone gets injured on the field, right? These change things, obviously. So like, it's all kind of a random sweat anyways, if you're not actually watching, and I wasn't watching. So like, yeah, I could have won.
What does fourth place in the Million Maker pay these days?
25 grand.
Yeah. And there's what, 300,000 entries in it?
Probably. Yeah.
It's so
ridiculous.
disgusting.
It's ridiculous.
Who won that Million Maker that week? The user, do you know?
I don't think it was a pro.
Okay.
Squirrel Patrol took third. I took fourth, and I didn't recognize the other two names. No offense to them.
No, none offense taken on their behalf.
Was it you won it? You won, Millie?
Yeah. Like I've been trying to not upstage Karain, and so I kind of didn't want to talk about my wedding.
Yeah, congrats, Karain, man. Woo. And he didn't take my my advice and bet on Josh Allen over props to hedge his bet. Good thing.
Yeah, there was lots of hedging talk. I think there, it was a little complicated as far as how to do that in a way where you could actually lock yourself in some profit. Both volume concerns as well, like how much could you reasonably get down? I think it was a tricky. Yeah.
No way. I would I wouldn't mind like just throwing like 10 or 20 down on some props on, Burrows, Allen, whatever. And just for fun, and then like, I lost, but I got back a little bit.
Yeah.
Doesn't makes you feel a little bit better.
Yeah. So
I mean, I probably wouldn't end up doing it.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely just insane too. It's still like, even talking to him last night after ship chasing, I don't think it's fully hit him yet. Just hearing him talk, and it would probably take a little while for that to settle. Did you have any other kind of big takeaways based on how things played out? I mean, the week 17 bros, we win this one, Brian, when you look at Pat's lineup.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of the zero QB argument that you don't really hear a ton about, which was kind of like the common strategy back in the pen and paper days. At least for me, that's how I always
late round QB for sure.
Late round QB. Yeah, it's like, because you really didn't need anyone besides maybe Hurts or later or Brady or later. But even like you could even just done Fields, Tua, which I know you guys had a lot. What was kind of cool? I was thinking is like when I was updating, the app with the projections and stuff of you and Pat and Davis and Justin, and it's like, oh, the $2 million lineup was in one of those. It was just like 400 lineups in there, and the $2 million was in there. It's kind of cool.
So next year, when you have the cohort of exposures that you weigh, you're probably going to be weighing Pat's a little stronger than Davis.
I just like delete yours, guys. Like, thanks for sending it.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's been a surreal run out. I mean, obviously Pat running extremely pure there, but to just
that shit, it was crazy. It's Monday Night Football or whatever, obviously, but like, that shit happens all the time. My first win, probably 2014, maybe late 2013, was my first time I won a GPP. Was 20 max NBA. I had like I can't even remember, but it was like a 6 or 8 point lead with the 6 minutes left in the fourth in the last game. And I think it was the Suns when Chris Paul was there. And he pulled, and I just needed him not to get like, I can't remember, like 8 or 9 or 10 points in the fourth, which he could definitely do. So I was probably like 50-50, maybe even, a 30% chance to win. And he pulls up a hammy and they pull him out of the game. And if I don't win, that was like 20K to first. I might not be talking to you because like running hot early is like a lot of good pro poker players and DFS players just ran hot early and then figured it out later.
Yeah.
And so like it happens all the time. It's just the magnitude is big. And it's, it's rarely like the whole team, but it's, I mean, in the NBA games have been canceled because like the roof leaks, COVID, when we're doing a live stream, Rudy Gobert ruins the world.
What did they do with that DFS slate? Did they just refund everyone, or did they pay out winners on that?
I think they paid out an Alex one. I think.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, did you have any takes on, I mean, it was pretty cut and dry once they decided not to reschedule that game, but did you have any thoughts on like how the operators handled that stuff?
Oh yeah, I tweeted about it, but then I deleted it. I said like, if Hamlin, was it Hamlin or Hamler? I can't. Is it
DeMar Hamlin? Yeah, Hamlin.
Hamlin. If Hamlin was smoking pot on the field, Goodell would have canceled the game. Like, because this guy's such an idiot.
I'm glad you deleted that tweet.
I should have said if a player was smoking pot.
Yeah.
He would cancel the game. Because the point is obviously this guy is just get his decisions backwards over and over again. It's like he has no inner morals. Like no center, and he's just kind of like, you knock your wife out, on camera, 2 games. Oh, you smoke pot? Career's gone. Career's over. You can't come back.
Well, it's because he doesn't actually have a direct moral compass. It is whatever perception is. It is whatever PR spin he needs. It's whatever he needs to do to pacify the owners. And then in some cases, what he needs to do to pacify the mob, that's the game he's playing. He doesn't have a strict moral compass that's directing every decision he makes.
Which, then he backtracks and then he'll give a guy a higher, suspension, more weeks, or he'll reduce someone's suspension and stuff. It's like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Yeah. And then, like, I don't know, was it confirmed that he wanted to play 5 minutes after? Like, obviously, that's an asshole move.
I think I think that was like a default thing, like in the NFL rulebook. Like, if there is an extenuating stoppage of time, that then the players have 5 minutes to warm up before the game restarts. Like, I think, but obviously, like, the sensitivity of the issue was lost in the shuffle there. I didn't get the impression that someone from the league office was like, you better get on the field in 5 minutes or whatever. But
so that was blown up.
Yeah.
That was blown up a little bit. Okay. So someone was on the same, hey, just for the record, if we do restart, you also get 5 minutes to warm up. So like, don't worry about anything right now. They're like, we're not starting right. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we'll never know some of the minutia there. I'm sure there were plenty of people in the front office that wanted them to just rub some dirt on it and get back out there. I'm sure like that was not.
Oh, yeah.
Back to the thing about, I think kind of what you were saying was that idea of risk of ruin, though, with gambling. And we talk about that a lot on the show of like how much of it is just staying in the game. I think I actually saw the debate just happening on Twitter earlier where Liam was posting about like, would you rather play for first place and win less coming back? Or I think that's how he framed it. And then people were having a bankroll conversation about it. It is like the age old thing. And it basically has to be with how top heavy all of these contests we play are.
Yeah, I came back from the gym and it was, you have 20 plus notifications thing, highlight. I'm like, what the fuck? It's a bankroll / hypothetical gambling question.
Yeah.
Both, I think bankroll is probably like one of the least discussed topics in DFS. It was kind of in there early, because they were copying content from other stuff because DFS was so new. They're like, what should we talk about? We need SEO. We need words on our websites. And so they kind of did a lot of bankroll stuff. And then eventually people just stopped talking about it. And now with the top heavy payout structures, it's so big. Best ball's got to be the most most variance of kind of the ones we all play for sure. So
that's specifically the way the underdog does it like the FFPC contest, their main season-long one, it's a sprint, so the best teams do tend to bubble up to the top more, and yet that contest is still absurdly top-heavy, that the variance is massive, an $800,000 swing from first to second place. I guess, over on like drafters, where it is just cumulative scoring throughout the season, maybe there's a little less variance there, but the way Best Ball Mania is structured, and I like it. I prefer it that way. I think it makes it interesting. I think it makes you want to sweat your teams more. You're incredibly live in a lot of different scenarios. I think from a sweat and entertainment perspective, it's incredible. I always kind of push back. I think it's hilarious when people are like, I wish, this extremely top heavy, randomized contest would have like more order and law to it. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't like add up to me.
Davis had a great line. He just did a pod with Pat, and it was like everyone just wants to. I'm going to paraphrase. I can't remember. He said it better, but like whatever the rules were that were good for their players, that's the rules they want to change. The structures for these tournaments.
Oh yeah, and it's like I've been in my long time season long like keeper leagues with buddies over the years, and like anytime a rule change comes up in the off season, it's because someone had a situation go against them earlier in the season. We got to change the waiver priorities because I got shafted with a number 2. Let's review. It always comes from personal interest. No one's ever like holistically from an unbiased perspective being like, we should change it in this way.
They're lucky in some ways that these ESPN Yahoo leagues came around because they determine the winner now. Because what happened last week, they would go, how many arguments are there going on across the world? I should be able to get my week 18 stats for week 17. This isn't fair. And, I mean, there's some merit to that, but I think they should get rid of the $1 million to first during the season.
100%. Yeah.
So I played some drafters, not a lot. And I still haven't even checked. I don't care. It's so boring. Like I checked like a month ago and it's like, it looks like one of mine aren't going to win. Okay. It's over. Like I'm never checking.
There's no sweat.
There's no sweat at all. And does anyone care about who won that 1 million besides the guy, obviously, for the regular season? So, like, I don't mind giving money, like, if you want to reduce the variance to those, like, good lineups. But, like, you could do, like, $100,000 to first and, like, $90,000 to second. You know what I mean? Like, 90, 80, 70, whatever. Like, $10,000 to a whole shit ton of guys, maybe. Make it, like, a double up or something.
One thing I think I haven't heard anyone push back against that, like the regular season prize money needs to be spread out over a much larger group of entries, the top 100, 200, 300, whatever. I haven't heard anyone push back on that. Like what I don't know if I've heard anyone float this one specifically. What I think would maybe be cool is you keep the pods and everything like it is. But like one way the fantasy league I host, so the teams that make the playoffs, the top 4 are based on seeding, and the final 2 spots go to who has the most regular season points, regardless of what their record is. So basically, if you're on the wrong side of head-to-head variance, but you scored a lot of points, you still get in. Like, I think it'd be cool if the pods had this thing where it was the top 2 in the pods, but there was a group of wild card teams, basically the guys who got screwed, who would have advanced in most pods, but because their pod grouping had unusually high scores, they get shut out. Where you had X amount of wild card teams who also advance because they scored so many points in a given round. I think that would be kind of like a cool little hack to make sure some of the really good teams don't get just boxed out while still keeping the randomness and excitement of the pod dynamic.
Fair enough. Yeah. What about like a double up or triple up that first round? Just the top 30% of scorers get in to the next round.
And the only thing about that is then you enter more drafters territory where it's going to self-select an even tighter group of players that are advancing. So we saw like 41% Justin Jefferson in the finals. Yeah. I think that dynamic would be even further exasperated and you'd have a bunch of 40%, 50% owned.
But who cares?
Well, you care because
you have 100% Jefferson. Who cares?
No. I'm saying then you get to the finals and you're literally only sweating like 1 or 2 different players versus you and the rest of the field because everyone shares the same cohort.
If it was 1 or 2, I agree. But I think like if you did like you did top 30% in round 1, then pods in round 2, that might do it for you. I think if you had like 1 or 2 guys that were 70% owners more, like who cares? That happens all the time in DFS. So like it's still be good sweat, I think. But either way, I get what you're saying. Yeah. something a little more fair to if you score 150 points, but the top guy gets 160.
Yeah.
That sucks when guys getting in with 131 or something.
And I think the other thing that would make it is if you were able to basically weight 3 different elements equally as far as what drafters could go for. So maybe the 3 was regular season, most points, and you spread that over 200, 300 entries. So people are like, I want to build the best team weeks 1 through 14. Then you have another one that's exactly how it is now. The pods, you're trying to advance through. If you get low on guys through, the randomness, the variance, that's fun. Then you have another one that's prizes for most points scored weeks 15 through 17. And so now you have 3 different strategic elements you can build for. You know, the latter being like, I am only going to optimize for weeks 15 through 17 across that 3-week span, not just an individual correlated week, but I am going to make sure, say I have a week 15 stack, a week 16 stack, a week 17, like, or however you want. And basically now you have people in drafts that are all approaching 3 different prizes, essentially. Like that would be a really cool dynamic to me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah. Just get rid of the $1 million during the season one. Add it all in there.
Yeah.
I'd be fine getting rid of the $1 million basically is just what I'm saying there. I mean, you know, add it to the prize pool somewhere else. Don't add it to the rake. But I just thought that was so boring. Drafters, they should need a playoff format. They need to do something that was super boring. But other than that, like I thought it was pretty cool. I got 12. I did 51 BBM threes. That's all I got in. I got 12 through, and then I got 4 into the semis, and then I didn't get any in the finals.
Dude, that is such an absurd advance rate on 51 entries. That's really fucking good.
Yeah, it was really lucky, but I didn't get it. But I didn't get any in the finals, so bummer. But how did you end up doing overall? Did you?
I had 3 in the semis and then 1 that came very, very close. I was 2 points off, or no, I was more points off than that. I got my hopes up because I was leading at one point on Saturday afternoon in my group, and then I got pulled ahead, and I needed a big game from Waddle or something on Sunday and didn't get it. So it was funny because I had gone into it like detached, where I was like, I'm not going to sweat this. Like, I don't have a chance. And then I had like the Dak Prescott, CD Lamb, and that game against the Eagles popped off. And I'm like, fuck, I got sucked in. I'm starting to look at all the odds, and then I had my heart ripped out. Luckily, I can't tilt it too hard because that team would have bombed in the finals anyways. I think those are the people who, you know, could have their tilt is like you were in the semis, you missed, and then you had a Mike Evans team. Like my heart goes out to any cut line Mike Evans teams in the semis. Like that's where you start to feel sick to your stomach.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's just so, there's just so much randomness to it. Not to take anything away from our buddy, but like there is just so much randomness to winning DFS tournaments, like individual ones, not on a whole, obviously.
Yeah.
And pulling down one of these things. It's so crazy too that like he does a show called Ship Chasing, and like, you know, what are the odds of, you know, it's what 1 in 400,000 or whatever, because let's assume he has an edge.
Yeah.
Just to ship the 2 million. Plus, it's, you know, in this group of the internet, this portion of the internet that does that content. It's I guess it's self-selecting, but like it's still the odds are it's so crazy. It's so crazy that
it really is. It's like the odds are like microscopic, you know.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it is. It's got to be one, like, you know, 1 in a couple million or something.
Yeah. Yeah. If you would have set the odds of like, oh, someone I do a show with wins the million or 2 million this year, it would be astronomical odds.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to Karain. If you guys haven't over on Ship Chasing, we had a few different streams. We had a live sweat stream on Sunday with the Eckler touchdowns that kind of vaulted him up there. Then we had the one on Monday night where of course the game got canceled and we halted the stream. And then we did kind of do a proper celebratory stream last Saturday. And I know Karain has been doing quite the media tour. I assume he's going to Disneyland at this point to wrap this up. But if you want to hear more from Karain, there's plenty of podcasts out there for you.
With those New York taxes and the, you know, we probably should have sold a lot of NFT assets at a huge loss that year. Turns out. Oh wait, no, he could do it this year because he won.
He's
year.
our trust me. The punting off some Top Shot moments are already on his radar for sure.
Yeah, I'm down, Pat. If you just want to get rid of, fuck it, I'll take a loss too, and I'll get write it off too. But he's gonna take home unless he gets really good accountants, which you can find them. They're just expensive. They're gonna take like 1.1 million probably.
Yeah, he's doing. I'm not going to air out his stuff, but he's doing his due diligence, and he can share what he wants to with how he's handling everything.
Yeah, that'd be fun if we can get him on one day. We could, if he'd be willing to talk about that. But yeah, well, I guess you probably couldn't talk about that.
No, I mean, Pat, this guy would show up to an opening of an envelope at this point. I mean, it's yeah, we'll get him on LOL. Once he's done doing every single podcast of this,
you probably should openly talk about your tax deductions on camera. It's probably not a good idea, but he might be able to get it lower. But it's just ridiculous. So like he has to become a Liberty Bro now. As soon as he signs that check, I want him to become a Liberty Bro from there on. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt, Pat.
He's gonna be just fine. He's gonna be just fine. I mean, were you? Because I know you and I had talked a lot in the offseason about kind of like the trajectory of best ball, like even seeing kind of the enthusiasm for it down the stretch and through the playoffs and the way people were sweating their teams. Like I've still never been more convinced that this is going to be the biggest fantasy format, in the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's really good. They could, I was thinking about this earlier. They could definitely do, they could do like more tournaments too, instead of
one big one.
Maybe they could have a bunch of different ones. I did 4 of the playoff ones last night, just sitting around
the gauntlet.
Yeah, and it is cool. It's a little time consuming for me. Like I want to weigh, obviously I want to build a bot for next year to finish my teams for me, but but yeah, it takes a little too long.
Is a bot your new nickname for Davis Maddock?
No, I want a winning bot.
Too many Nicole Hardman shares on those teams.
Yeah. Who drafts 60% Taysom Hill and still doesn't make money? But yeah, I think DFS is not in any danger. I think it's a nice mix, like best ball off season, DFS regular season.
Well, because what it is, the way the pods work with the 15, 16, 17 is it's like you wake up with an additional DFS sweat for each of those weeks. It's like I'm in a small field tournament, and there's a lot of money or a lot of stakes in advancing up top, and having those sweats week 15, 16, 17 to accompany your DFS play was I think I'm not the first person who, when they got dusted on Sunday in DFS, pulls up their best ball teams, in week 15 to see, hey, what am I advancing?
Yeah. If DraftKings gets their way, they'll probably add late swap to week 17. You got an injured guy. You could swap him out for someone who's not been drafted in your league. Just totally ruin it.
I do agree with you, though. I kind of hope, and I think I heard Davis have this take too, that it'd be cool if they maybe did joint flagship tournaments, or maybe 3 $1 million tournaments for different periods. Because even with these playoff drafts, I really love the dynamic. I was blasting off on the initial gauntlet ones, and the teams I was building then are wildly different than the teams I'm building now. And I don't have to worry about competing against the older teams in that other one. It's like a new contest where everyone's starting over with fresh ADP. I do kind of like those various draft windows, as opposed to being we continue to see all of my best teams on Best Ball Mania 3 were drafted in May. A couple of them before the schedule was even out. The winning $1 million team drafted July 18th. A lot of these, pre-August. And so then you start to wonder, when you're blasting off, at the end of August, beginning of September, are you even remotely live to winning a tournament that's been open for 4 months or whatever? Yeah.
That's got to hurt when you get week 16 or 17. You're like, oh, my best team. Oh, it's got Jalen Hurts on it now. Fuck. he's not going to play, something like that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just saying, knowing that, like, those teams that were winning, like the team who won the regular season prize, he had I think it was like a 13th round Damian Pierce, who by the time the season started was like a 6th round Pierce. It's just like, you're not all the combos that those later drafters or early drafters are going to have around some of those ADP values are going to be, pretty advantageous for them.
I was thinking a strategy I'm going to do next year, if I can pull off getting a bot, but you could do this without that. It's kind of like a back counting strategy, like in blackjack. Are you familiar with this concept? I read it in a book called Blackjack Attack 20 years ago, 25 plus years ago, probably.
Is this like the Kelly criterion thing, or is this different?
No,
Okay.
It's just you count. I mean, it's really simple. You just count the cards while you're standing up. Don't sit down. Don't play yet. And then you wait till the deck's favorable, and then you sit down and play.
Yeah.
Anyways, and so I was thinking like that could be a good way to play best ball, where you're on top of the news, and then so an injury happens, hop on, draft 5 teams. Don't do anything
until that ADP corrects. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're kind of hitting and running and getting your blasting off 10, something like that.
With the thesis being, a lot of the other quote unquote edges are now table stakes as far as good structure and drafting values and correlating, but there will be these snapshot windows that other people won't have access to. That's a defined edge going into a draft. I know this guy will be going 3 rounds later than he should be going in lieu of this. The problem is too, is like Underdog has their push alerts. Drafters are so on top of stuff.
Sure.
It's almost even hard for that to materialize unless you're like in a draft when something breaks.
Yeah, it does go fast, but that's why I'm saying like if I can get my auto draft bot working, because I'll open 10 up right then. Just go, it doesn't matter really, because it's gonna anything I can't handle, the app's gonna add into it. So like just pop off 10 in 5 minutes and then you're done.
Yeah. Did you have any thoughts? Like, I know sometimes when we've talked about DFS stuff, and if you are building your like 150 max and like, say you end up with 1% of a guy or one, share of a guy, and you might just lop that off because you're saying, hey, if this guy hits, there's other people who are going to have a bigger stance or position on this guy. It's less likely to hit me in my one combo of him. And then, listening to Pat, he had his only share of Tyquan Thornton across 150 drafts, and that ends up in his roster. I guess it is like do you think there's a difference from that mentality with DFS as far as being a little more concentrated versus best ball? Is it apples and oranges?
My advice for DFS is if you don't do like a full bottom up process like I do, I wouldn't really have any of those 1% guys, especially if they're like LeBron Jameses or whatever. Because, someone who's probably going to be owned like 10% at least or higher, and they're good. Because that's just an optimizer thing, right? It's just like the optimizer spitting one in there where if you did it bottom up, it's going to say this lineup as a whole, like compared to all this other variables, is still worth having in your top 150. It's a lot different than an optimizer just going, okay, your uniques and some randomness, and then you sort by whatever. 1% of there, it's not as like holistic, I guess. So like I would just X them out. I don't think there's anything wrong with Xing out those like little one bottom guys. Sometimes you run out of time in the NBA and you just got to get it in there. So don't get your lineups in first. But that's what I do. I don't use an optimizer usually, but when I did, that's what would happen.
Yeah, and I think the dynamic too with best ball is a little different. We're having like a random, 1 or 2 shares of a guy, because especially at the end of the draft, like a lot of your decisions, I think if you're building smartly, have already been made for you because you're trying to make the most logical pick based on the 17 things you've already done in that draft. And you also have variables and opponents taking that. So in Pat's instance, he had been loading up on the Dolphins and was playing for this game 17 matchup with the Patriots. He ended up getting both Jacoby and Tyquan Thornton, but there's scenarios where, say, Jacoby goes and the other Kendrick Bourne is gone, and you're like, all right, the only guy I want to get the correlation boost, the only viable guy left is Tyquan Thornton. So he might make sense on this roster in a way he didn't make sense on other rosters. That's
a bottom up approach, but with Pat's big brain, right? His 200 IQ. So yeah, that's the same thing. So like if that's happening, obviously no problems with it. And it's also kind of like we've talked about this so many times now, Pete. But like if you are in this 0.01%, like petty theft territory or whatever is the example I always use. Shout out our buddy Pat. Is if you are in that 0.01% of like you just know all the rotations and everything that's going on in the sport, you grind the tape, blah blah blah. Have at it. Hopefully that's your edge. But if there's a better time than this is the best time of the season to like go over in your head my strategy versus the I know better strategy, I think, because if you aren't in that 0.01%, taking stands and I know bettering and 70%ing guys is just fucking random. It's just random. Like some years you'll have Gabe Davis and you'll look like Liam and you'll look like a genius. And then some years you'll have Gabe Davis and you look like an idiot. So like you don't know as much as you think you do. Like bankroll and portfolio management are tools that have been around for 100 years, 100 plus, over that really. And so like, but again, we work at wherever you work in the industry where you guys are constantly have your nose in the information and stuff like that. So it's tough for you guys. It's probably okay. And like, especially in like the small field DFS, I think that's an excellent strategy for you guys to play and use your knowledge to beat your opponents. But for like kind of the general bro out there, taking big stands, although it can be fun, when you win, I'm telling you, it's just random. And like, look at your lineups now, look back to your stands now, and then go, okay, well, maybe there is some randomness there.
Well, and another, again, talking about this dynamic specifically with best ball is there's an element where, like, if you use the Gabe Davis example, if you take a big stand on Gabe Davis is still going to be drafted in 100% of best ball mania drafts.
Right.
If you take a stand on an 18th round player, if you have 40% Tyquan Thornton, he's only getting drafted in 10% of drafts. Like now that stand is maybe a little bit more purposeful in what you win when you are correct.
Yeah. The term leverage that, I kind of always had a problem with, like people are like, okay, the field has, this is DFS, not basketball, but the field has 30%. I have 45%. I have leverage on the field. It's like, dude, you're playing against 300,000 lineups. You don't have leverage on shit. You know what I mean? Leverage isn't that. Leverage is like the opposing hitter against a pitcher who's very popular or something like that. The opposing stack against a pitcher who's very popular. That's leverage, right? So like if you could figure out a way to do that in best ball, I think this is what you were saying, having 69% Gabe Davis when there's 100% of lineups that have him in 550,000 entries or whatever it was in BBM3, that is not that 100, so you're what? You're 70 lineups or whatever, your 80 lineups or whatever against 550,000 other Gabe Davis lineups.
Right.
It's not leverage.
Well, and another, to tie it back to the playoff contest, there are ways to find direct leverage in that contest where, some of these teams, like an example that I've been doing is like everyone is very frothy for the 49ers in this contest. CMC goes third overall, Brock Purdy screaming up draft boards. And when I am not building San Francisco stuff, I have been taking a lot of Seahawks late onslaughts if they pull off the upset, because it's a direct leverage. Not only are the San Francisco teams going down in flames in that scenario, but you're getting a stack that's not being drafted in a lot of the drafts moving forward. So, which to pull those leverage, levers in season-long basketball is a lot harder than I think it is maybe in the playoff format.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. But I would just, again, like if you could figure out like reducing risk portfolio diversification actions that you could do, it's helpful even if you do know better, right? So like it can reduce your risk and also use your skill level. So there's no reason not to at least look into it, right? So there's no reason to have this fight, of whatever you want to call the Math Bros versus the I Know
No
Brother.
reason to have the fight. The internet exists solely to have fights that don't need to be had, Brian.
You know what I mean. That was leaving your obvious accurate point there about the internet as a whole. The smart gamblers out there, you could do both.
Yep. Let's.
I wish I knew better. I wish I knew better. I wish I had the confidence some of you guys have in your player takes.
You say you guys. I mean, I have, like, if you go through, like Pat mentioned, he had 40%. Rashad White, Liam always has big stands. Like I think I tapped out at like 22%. And as far as what my biggest stand was, so I'm on the other side of that.
That's
where I
true.
actually don't feel too confident in it with my own stuff. But yeah, I won't argue with anyone who wants to jam their guys. Any other takeaways from this best ball season?
Nothing's coming to mind. I just thought it's fun. We probably got another year or two. What we got here? Is Brian just a Fed plan this whole time? Trying to get people to buy bonds for the government, not gamble on GPPs, makes too much sense for them throwing out the.
I don't know. Would a Fed also be encouraging Correa to move to Florida? I don't know.
Oh yeah, Puerto Rico, even better. God, could he do that? Oh shit, he might be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to speculate on
yeah,
tax evasion. On
save that money, bro.
On the air. What? Any other? Someone said this. You just got a shout out on Twitter for having the sharpest PGA ownership in the industry.
Oh, well,
did you get a tag? Did you get a tag? Who said?
I haven't checked since we started.
Fire it up. Bric75.com. What? Free golf ownership every week?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Unless I don't do it, but I almost always do. I think my PGA is probably sharpest too, and I'm adding this week. I'm adding did I say PGA twice? MMA, my MMA projections. I'm gonna throw my actual projections on there too for free.
Ooh, because normally it's just ownership.
But I just updated my projections. I haven't done it in like a year and a half because I just got lazy and just started using others. And I'm like, oh God, just do it, Brian. So, and I'll throw them up there.
You might be getting a strongly worded DM from a former Lowell's host about giving up your projections for this slate here, Brian.
Oh, wait, no, I'm not following you. Wait.
Our friend who doesn't want to make the fish better.
Oh, shit. Yeah, no, I think he's fine with projections.
Okay.
I think he's fine with projections. I can't find this.
I just found it. Den tagged us in it. I'll pull it up here.
Okay, thank you for tagging us.
Let's see here. For all you sweaty ownership projection folks, let me make this bigger. Zoom in here. I assume this is... Okay, here we go. Ooh, look at this, Brian. Going up against the heavy hitters here. Look at that.
No, I'm not the sharpest. I'm second to him.
Oh, that's why you tweeted it out?
Yeah, well.
I guess here,
this is just for today.
Just for the Sony Open. Okay.
Within 1%, I was the sharpest. I'll take it.
There you go.
How does his average higher than mine? Can you go back to that? That math didn't look right. Go back to that first one, the Sony Open. Shouldn't his average, his R squared, be lower than mine? Okay, I guess it's possible the R square is higher within percentages. So my within above 3 must have been much lower than his for some reason.
Yeah.
For his R square to be higher. I don't know. Anyways.
There you go. I mean, any other things you'd like to say in your acceptance speech?
I actually made a manual tweak on some of those players this week too, which I rarely do.
I also love the spelling of stochastics. It sounds like my mom, like referencing the site where she just like slightly mispronounces something.
Your friend at Stochastics?
Yeah.
The guy from a different planet.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, speaking of stochastics, I did want to ask you about something. And I forget, maybe we had talked about it at some point on the show, but I just had noticed this year in particular, like Osimo across any of the contests I was ever in with him. And I don't know how much he was doing this across all of his contests, but just the mega onslaughts of teams, even in like larger contests like the SPY that would have like 5,000 plus entries. It wasn't just super small field, like 5 guys from the same team, it would generally have like a value element to it where there was some really cheap pieces, but sometimes it would be Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Derek Carr. I was curious, like I assume his sim stuff is getting him there, but did you have any thought just like in stuff you've seen from those mega onslaughts maybe being underutilized by the field?
Yes, that's interesting you said that, because what I was noticing in my smaller field, so probably me, I don't know, it depends on what sports you're in, how you define small, medium, and large, but like let's say around 4,000 entrants, 5,000 entrants, something like that, I was getting more what appeared to be, I didn't like do any data research on this, more onslaughts this year, and a lot more like just double stacks with no run back in large field. And that's just kind of, I guess, anecdotally. I'm not sure what the word is. I didn't like actually go through and then compare them or anything. It just seemed like I was getting more just 2-man stacks or something like that. And then in big onslaughts in like the Wildcat.
Yeah. So a question for that too, like say you're in your sims, if you're getting more double stacks with bringbacks and then, or without bringbacks, and say then the field, you know, is maybe overutilizing double stacks and bringbacks. Is it your sim that's smart enough to know the field is doing this too much and there's an edge in not doing it? Or is it just the math arriving there independently of that?
It has to be a combination of math arriving there independently of that. At least the way I don't know what Alex is doing, but
yeah,
because like I'm trying to think. I mean, your math can change, like your inputs can change if you update in season compared to like historical data. And so like maybe because the players are playing differently now, then the output's going to be different. But the math would still tell you like these are your top 10 lineups you should stick in the Wildcat or whatever.
But I guess my question was like, let's say just as a hypothetical in the spy that every single person in the field was doing a double stack and a bring back. And then would your sim be able to review that contest and be like, this is being massively overutilized by the field. Right. This is where an edge is going forward.
That's, if I wasn't lazy, that's exactly what I would do. I don't do that often enough. Okay. So like what that would do is, so you would update then your bottom up model with this new information. And I wouldn't go full hardcore that this is definitely going to happen, going forward. I would just regress it a little bit and then update my model. And then whatever it spits out from there is what I go with. But yeah, if you did want to kind of like, because I know better a model too. I mean, we all do, Alex came on here and called me out on it probably over a year ago now and said, we're guessing too. And you kind of are, even when you're building a model, even just like a simple stats model, you're kind of, a lot of people are just copying what other people do, but you're still kind of guessing at what matters. Even in your regressions, you're guessing what variables to use and all sorts of things like that, and how to build, some sort of bigger puzzle solving algorithm to put your DFS lineups in. So like you are kind of I know battering a little bit. I still think it's like that's just like kind of the scientific process. But if you did put in, okay, everyone's double stacking +1 run back or double stacking. Now tell me what. I think that's actually not the worst strategy in the world, and mine kind of does that because I don't want to talk about it, but like it kind of has that element in there.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious about that. Like if it was like with the Osimo there, if it was those onslaughts without the bring back, if it was because the field was doing the bring back too much and that was a leverage point, or if it was just over correlating a single offense by itself, regardless of what the rest of the field was doing, is being underutilized.
So my data this year was based off of this year mainly. So it very well could be what's going on so much this year has made that change, made at least the algorithms like onslaughts better versus those lineups. It's entirely possible. I don't know the reason. It's just interesting you said that, because I haven't looked at Alex's lineups at all.
Okay. No, I was just like a hand builder's perspective, it's such a fascinating thing because, like, again, double stack with a bring back feels so comfy to everyone, and it allows you to pick your spots from other games. Whereas, like, it's almost, even though we know that correlating allows us to get less things right, there's this element when you put 5 guys from the same team, your hand builder brain says, like, shit, all of these guys have to erupt.
Right.
For like this team needs to score 60 points for this to work out. And yet it does not seem like that's how the math is actually working out with that.
Yeah, especially when it's the Jaguars, like I've been playing all season long. Like this is like, this can like never happen. And it's like, oh, it did happen once. Wow. It seems impossible, you know, that Evan Ingram, ETN, Kirk, Lawrence are all going to go off, but it is possible. But like they, but obviously it's, you don't need as many points to beat fewer opponents. Although it certainly feels that way with some of the scores that guys put up in these lineups. It's amazing.
I know. Yeah. What is your overall, now with football season winding down, like how did it end up being for you as a year? Things you did well, things you'd like to revamp?
I actually updated my stuff this year and I like it much better than the previous model. I had like 3, you know, top 10 finishes and in the big ones and didn't pull them out. And if you don't pull them out, then you're not gonna have a big year. Like in like one showdown too, I had like a fucking lock on 500K and just like the last second, some fucking crazy shit happened. And so it's like, yeah, well, and like, it's just, if that shit doesn't happen, then you're not gonna have a big year.
Yeah. Oh, I thought of something when you were talking about the idea of, you know, even if you're using Sims, you're still guessing and you're still IKBing in it to an extent with the inputs. Yeah. And it made me think of like this year with Showdown stuff, you know, I would, you know, run the Sims and then, you know, show people in the Discord kind of the leverage spots based on, you know, aggregated ownership. And then you start to realize how thin the margins are with some of those inputs. Like the big one being, I would always compare like Justin's kicker projections to the ETR kicker projections and then rerun the Sims just using the slightly different kicker projections, and how wildly, like, you could have one guy showing as the biggest positive leverage on the entire slate for a kicker. And then you plug in the ETR one and he's like neutral or slightly, you know, below neutral as a play. And you just quickly realize too, how just like literally like a 1-point shift in a showdown projection can just wildly swing how good of a play somebody is. And it just always drives home to me that even the inputs themselves are super fragile.
Yeah. And how it's really illustrates doing something like that, how important projections are. And when you do make your own and you're good at it, how much of an edge that actually is. So like, you know, like Blender talks about this, projections don't matter that much because everyone's kind of about the same. And that's true for 99.9% of the people. Like, just whatever, average them, who cares? It doesn't matter. But if you do have the ability to make your own projections and maintain a database, and it depends on how you do it, or you're just this is all you do. You do all this grinding tape, watching every game, I know bettering, and you somehow make it into that top 0.01%, you can make a lot of money with just that 2, 3, 4 points difference.
Yeah.
And being right, which is the big part.
All right, here's a thought experiment for you. What would you rather have? Would you rather have really good projections, but the rest of the field is using those exact same really good projections, or your own projections that no one else has access to or is using that aren't as good?
I guess it depends on how bad those are. Well, I mean, obviously the second one sounds much better to me. The first one would just be then, therefore, essentially just coin flipping. Everyone's coin flipping if they're all using like perfect projections.
Yeah.
So definitely the second one.
Because that's another thing I'm thinking about too. And like you see it with, you know, I think a lot of people are using like ETR projections for Showdown. Like I really do think that those have become very widely utilized by people. And then wondering too, like, I guess the thought experiment I was doing is like, if you have, say those projections are really good, but if a lot of people are using them, even having slightly worse that aren't being used as much to where it gets you on a kicker that their cohort's going to be really underweight on. Is that actually an edge in and of itself?
Right. So like this has got we've touched on this briefly on a few shows. This like homogenization of projections across the industry. I think that's the right word. So like you gotta believe that guys are looking at each other's sites. Everyone's got an account with each other.
For sure.
And they're gonna like if Pete has Christian McCaffrey at 30 points projected and I have him at 21. Do I want to stick there or just like say everyone's got him at 30? Do I at least want to go 27, right? I don't want to look like an idiot. You know, this happens like with I guess with like mutual funds and stuff like that. Like it has this big, huge market effect on the efficient market hypothesis. But anyways, that's a side note. So like if everyone is on this suboptimal, like homogeneous projection system, and you make your own projections, I'm talking myself into going back and doing all my own projections for every sport instead of just like half of them. Maybe I should. That's so much more of an advantage than if like one site's really good, right? And then all the other sites kind of suck. And I don't know if it's so much an advantage. Let me rephrase that. It's much bigger incentive for you to do your own shit. In the old way, just get stochastics, just get whoever's the best at the time, and just use those, and then eventually just start averaging them. Okay, well now everyone has them. Okay, make your own. So I guess I gotta put the fish gloves on, Pete, and get to programming.
It's fine. And then you can even further that conversation and go more down to the leveling of like, then you're looking at other sites' projections and, then that's going to impact your ownership. You're like, oh, maybe I'm light on my ownership here because this site is projecting this player so well. So I'm going to come up on that, assuming people are using those projections. And then that person is going to appear more frequently in lineups. Like then you really start to go down the leveling rabbit hole.
Travis is in chat. I have a Travis Petty model, so I download his lineups.
Yeah,
and then I just figure out, through regression, who he's adjusting.
Do you look at his
I don't do that, but actually, I could.
I like to imagine you looking at like his NBA lineups and being like, "What coach's press conference did he watch to know?" that this guy was going to get 2 more minutes of playing time tonight.
It's tough. I always caution looking at expert players stuff. Like you definitely want to do it, but like with like at least a grain of salt, because sometimes they fuck up. They didn't get their right stuff in. They missed a player was out. They're trying something new. It depends on the person. Like some people have like the set strategies and they never change. So like they're better to look at. So like, but like looking at his lineups, like you could see he'll have like I don't know, Karl Anthony Towns at 50% owned when he's like 2% in the tournament. It's like, well, clearly he likes him for some reason, unless he's fucking up, Did he do it like 3 times in a row? Stuff like that is where you can kind of hack. Kind of like how, Spanky does his sports betting. I don't know if anyone follows his pod. He's like copying the line movement from the actual professionals. Yeah. And that's
that's why I brought up the Osmo one, because it was a thing I saw repeated over and over that was like pretty clearly defined, as opposed to like, I can tell you're specifically doing something here over a larger sample size.
Yeah, for sure. But just be careful about it. And I'm like, cause you never know, Pete, like who's watching and they're like just totally get you wrong. I'm sure this happens to you all the time. Like when you're doing serious, like you get people like, oh, they don't know. Like a lot of our listeners are sharp, like really sharp, and we don't have to explain shit to them. But like then some people are just like, well, I guess I'm going to play 1% guys from here on out. It's like I just lost $1,000 because you, Pete.
I know. And that is, I think I've heard like Bales say this quote before, and I'm sure I'm going to like bastardize it. But like when you are at like an elite level at something, you should actually rely on your gut more than the numbers like that. Cause now you're working at the very top of where the margins are thin, and kind of your instincts and domain expertise and all of seeing the contextual differences is actually more valuable to you than just looking at the numbers. And I think that's the hard thing. It's where like the old, like you have to know the rules before you can start to break them because you've seen so many different patterns or whatever. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but
I gotcha. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like if you have tons of experience looking over these guys' lineups over and over again, you'll notice, okay, why is he doing this onslaught? I've watched so many times. Okay, now there's a pattern. He's done it 3 times in a row. Maybe there's some signal there and it's not just noise. And where somebody else will just download one GPP CSV, look at one guy's thing and go, oh, he uses 5 uniques. Fantasy Cruncher, 5 uniques, enter 150 lamps, dump $150, however much the buy-in is to everyone else.
I think it like another, like a best ball example of that would be some people were like messaging me about a draft I did. And they're like, why did you reach for this guy 101 when you can get him later? And like, the reason I was doing it is because I was setting up a combination that you couldn't otherwise get ADP wise if you didn't start off by reaching. But you could take a hatchet to that and be like, oh, you can reach for whoever you want 101. But if you like, you're not having a purpose for why you're doing something, that's another thing where a strategy would get, if you just took it at the top level face value, you would actually not execute it correctly versus understanding the nuance of why someone was doing that thing.
Definitely. We're coming up towards the end, and we haven't mentioned. I got a DM from our guy Ricky D. I told you about this earlier this morning. You're not an NBA player, Pete, but Utica won the Millie Maker last night in the NBA. And Ricky D goes, Uta won his 6th Millie Maker within a year's time.
That's insane. So since last year, January
12th, so 12 months,
6 Millie Makers.
This one, that's what, and he keeps track of this shit. I don't. That's got to be greatest run of all time. So like,
that's insane.
So our buddy RBX88 had 3 in a shorter amount of time, and he also had like 2 seconds. I can't remember. It's on the internet. People could find it. What's notable about that one is they were all the gigantic, huge field ones.
Yeah.
So it's just like astronomical, the odds of that. But with Uta, not that I'm.
Just say it. You think he sucks, and he's just running harder than the sun.
He like last night's buy-in was 2,500, but like I could have won it, I didn't. So like, some of those wins are like a little are higher buy-in, but still. So 6 millies, if Ricky D's right, within a 12-month period.
But if we are going to try to
get your heart out, buddy.
If you're going to try to compare him to RBX, though, for the pantheon of greats, how many times has Utica gotten smashed while having an orgy and run 150 lineup train the next morning because he wasn't in a state to update?
Who knows? I heard Utica likes to party, so it's possible. Who knows?
Look at this. Just a true grinder still in every 3-man. I mean, some of these guys, I think was it Chipotle Attic after he won? What was the big thing he won recently? Did he win the 2 milli? And then the next day was like registering for like early only like NBA slates on FanDuel. It's just like, get the fuck out of here, dude.
They are fucking crazy. I think this was a shot at why is he playing a $5?
Right. Yeah.
But I don't like that. The early morning's a little different because you're working so hard. That's different than saying you should only play $1,000 or more. I hate that shit. Like, you don't know, like maybe that guy, maybe he he's lost a lot before winning those millies, and he still grinds just like everyone else. You never know. I seriously doubt it. 6 million in 12 months he's probably doing just fine.
Well, what was the max on? So you said last night, the one he won 2,500. What was max entries, and had he maxed it?
I'm sure he maxed it, and I can't remember what the max was. Like, I think it was like 25 or something. I could check.
Yeah. But it's like, again, you're not taking anything away. But so if there's 25 and you're 62,500 and you're doing that night after night, like you do need to win a couple of those to stay profitable in that contest.
For sure. Because, well, here's another example to bring it back to the beginning of the show. I got it open now. Second play. Do you want to show the screenshot or
Yeah.
Here,
Do you have it?
I'll put it in the chat here. Our secret chat, Pete.
Oh, the secret chat where we make the cash game lineup for wild card weekend.
This is where Utica gives us the nuts.
All right, here we go.
Oh, great. My shitty lineup's highlighted.
Yep. So we had what, 26 entries, 30 total, or when they have the parentheses, does that mean 26 total?
Yeah.
3 total?
Yeah.
Okay,
So he didn't max it. He didn't max it then, huh?
Yeah.
So what was the total you could put in there? 30, you said?
Yeah, 30 it says is the max.
So type in that search box there. Type in our guy. Oh God, why am I blanking? The Fed. Whistles go.
Whistles?
Yeah. Yeah, but his name's too fucking big. If you type it into that the other window you were just in, with the that. Type it in there.
Oh, the Whistles. Jesus. Come on, DraftKings.
30. Yeah, so he did the full 30. I think in this payout structure, I just think that's wrong, even if you're fucking rich. No, I guess not. If you're super rich, then it's fine.
If you're super rich, I think you could justify anything.
Well, I mean, it does matter. Like your role compared to the prize structure and your edge is an important thing to think about. Yeah, I think 5 was optimal. 5 and lose. That's what I like to do.
What if 26 lineups is what you needed? Apparently, Brian.
Yeah. So he didn't max it. Yeah, I mean 100. So it was 100 to first, and like what 175 to a million to first, 175 to second. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
You can click on.
150 in the ticket.
Oh, he got a tournament champions ticket. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But still, that's not enough. It's like a poker payout would be like 200,000 the first, 175 the second, 150 the third. How many guys? Everyone, we got a big crossover. A lot of guys used to play poker. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But like if the analytics show that the $1 million really does drive traffic, I guess you just have to live with the swings.
Single bullet CSU ran.
Oh wow, he's a degenning, huh?
he shows up everywhere. He shows up. You'll see him in your mitten draft, and then you'll see him over in the Mega Millionaire.
So Oxen Duck did 13, huh? Interesting. I haven't seen him in a win in a while. I wonder if he's running bad. Papa Gates did 23.
Yeah.
Raging Phillips did 29.
This
That's
is
so
the
weird
thing about the number, Brian, being different, because it's like 10 here. It's like
showing okay,
you the number lineup.
You're looking at the lineup that was entered. That was the 10th lineup they entered.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'd have to go.
This one.
Okay, 30. So he did do 30. So Raging Phillip did 32.
Oxen Duck was 15.
Did 15. Okay.
Issue Rammy single bullet.
He just did a single bullet. I don't hate that in this prize structure at all. Who else? Check Petty. What did Pet do? 30.
30.
Took a bath on that one, pal. He's got the money. It's all right.
All right. I got to get going, but Brian, It was great to get back in the saddle. We will, of course, aim to fall back into our regular Thursday rhythm. Definitely missed doing the show, so it was great getting back in here.
Yeah, always fun. Good to see you. Glad everything's going well. That Pat win was really fun. He's good for the show too. Ship Chasing's a real fun show. I always watch you guys. So good times, guys. We're back.
Yeah. Well, Brian, kind of what works is, everyone I do shows with, they start to win, Millie Maker contests. So I think things are going to start to turn around for you, Brian, here real soon.
Right. Except I think this show's the oldest one, Pete. So
you think his grandfather did? No, Ship Chasing predates this one.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. True. And Swolecast.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys all hanging out in the chat. You can come chat with us in the Discord. You can check out bric75.com for not only the best PGA ownership around, but also MMA projections and ownership. Is there a slate this weekend, Brian?
Yeah. So I think, I'm almost positive there's a slate this weekend, and I will do projections. So there was a snafu with the site. I have no idea. GoDaddy fucked it up. Like a quarter of the names were deleted. So if you log in and it's not accepting you, just make a new account with the same email.
There you go.
So sorry about that.
Max says, is Kitchen winning a milli? Let's not push it.